2026, Rob Browne drinking out of a Bucky's cup, ice water, because we ran out of creamer. Brendan, did you get your good
You know
cold?
what you do when you run out of creamer, don't you? There's a little trick.
What do you
One,
do?
if you're healthy, you get bulletproof coffee. You put some butter in there, and you can gut it. You'll get through it. But if you need creamer, you go to the ice cream. You get the ice cream out. If you got a little ice cream, put this big chunk of ice cream, scoop of ice cream, and then you put it under the coffee. Oh, creamer.
Hey, Audrey, Brendan found a way to get creamer. You put ice cream in your coffee.
Ice cream in the coffee, baby. That's how it works.
Audrey said you're a double knot spy, James Bond. I'm in bed. Okay. She's got to take my truck. I got to take her car. We got a great one today. Coach John Brady. He took LSU to the Final Four. He was at Arkansas State, Samford. Boy, does he know basketball. He's the color analyst on the LSU Basketball Network. Go Tigers. John Hartwell, athletic director at Troy, Utah State, deputy AD at Ole Miss and AD at ULM, and now College Sports Solutions. And Coach Matt Dean up in Memphis, coaching with the women's basketball. Man, we've got a lot of experience here. Do us a favor, take a picture with your phone of the QR codes, broadcasting on 8 channels live, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Thousands of you watching. Share us and like us. Let me tell you something. You know me, Rob Browne, Brendan Martin. Share it, like it with your friends. Tell 100 people every day.
Subscribe and follow and comment and drink your Red Bull.
Yeah, we love your comments.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you what, the early bird gets the worm, and that's One Stone Angel, always an early bird. But look, Brendan puts out reels throughout the day. We had history. We had Yancey Porter Tuesday on live video restream, and that was great. We can put his reels out, but let's get started with this great panel we've got today. Guys, college basketball season in the SEC last year was an historically great year. I hope I used that in the proper context, and not a historic, and historically great year. 14 out of 16 teams went to the tournament. Okay, this year, I'm not going to predict yet, but man, you got Vanderbilt and Missouri at the top at 3-1, along with Arkansas tied at 3-1, with A&M at 3-1, and Florida at 3-1, and a lot of 500 or below teams beyond that. I just want to get to something we were talking about in the pre-show about Stephen Pearl at Auburn. Being a head coach, y'all know what it's like. It's a lot different because you have to then coach everybody as opposed to coaching the offense, the defense, or a specific position in football or basketball. I'll start with you, Matt. You've done it, and then go to John and John. But Matt, Stephen Pearl's learning curve is going to be tough, and in the SEC, it's very unforgiving.
Well, John has been the expert at this with his success. My experience as a 10-year assistant before I became a head coach was, I worked for a Hall of Fame coach and Coach Hilgeman at Rhodes. And that first year when I got away from him and started a new program, a lot of times when you get a head job, it's because someone else was not very good and you're part of a really good program.
Yeah.
And I had to cut my teeth. And then every game I felt like the game slowed down a little bit for me. Now, when you're in a really successful program with your father and you get the keys to the car, there's going to be some transition. There's no doubt about it. And I think when you're in the toughest league in America, basketball-wise, last year in the SEC, and you start you're cutting your teeth in the SEC, there's going to be some tough times. So I pull for him. I just know I've been there, not the SEC level, but I just know how hard the transition is.
John Brady talking about being a head coach. We were just saying Stephen Pearl, and as John Hartwell referenced, played for his dad and has only worked for his dad. Now he's the head coach. Kind of add on to what Matt just said, because it's one thing to have a girlfriend. It's another thing to be married with 4 or 5 kids running around the house.
That's a jump in an analogy. I like that. I wouldn't have come up with that one, but Bruce Pearl has a resume, out the door, and so automatically players, when they come in there, they respect what he says because of what he's done and what he's accomplished. His son hasn't quite done that like his father has, so I think that's a difficult transition. I think hiring an outside guy to come in may be a little more, uh, maybe not easier, but a little more acceptable than moving the coach's son up to the head coaching job. So I think it's tough for the players. I think it's tough for his son. He's always going to have that over his head about living up to what his father has done and what he is, and so he's got to develop his own personality under his father still being there, sitting in the stands. So I think there is a learning curve there, larger than it would be, in my opinion, if they'd have brought somebody in from the outside.
Yeah, John Hartwell, you've hired a few coaches. You played college basketball too. You're muted. Yeah. John, you're muted. We can't hear you. Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I agree with John totally. You understand a father trying to set their son up for success, and I have no issue with that at all. And it was a tough situation for John Cohen, their AD at the time, because of the timing of Bruce stepping down. But I think it's going to be a difficult situation. They've obviously got a talented roster, but until you have been in the throes of knowing when to call a timeout, knowing when to make certain substitutions, knowing when to switch, from half court to full court pressure, things like that, until you do it live, and the SEC or any college basketball league is not very forgiving, I think they're going to struggle some during this year.
Yeah, and it looks like it. And guys, looking at the SEC race this year, from your perspective, I'll go to John and then Matt. LSU right now, it's been tough the last few years. How will you compare the play overall of this league to this point last year? Can you tell enough from 4 games?
Go ahead.
Who are we talking to?
Do the
John
expert,
Brady. John Brady.
Don't
Sorry.
do me.
Yeah,
John's the expert.
I'm gonna call you JB and Hartwell.
I don't think the league's as strong as it was a year ago, simply because of the numbers we put up in preseason play before we got into SEC play. I think that alone, the conference isn't as strong. I don't think we're getting 14 teams of 16 into the NCAA tournament. I'm thinking more like 8, possibly 9. I think the league is a little more balanced. I think there are 2 or 3 teams that don't have an opportunity to do anything, but I think the league is more balanced. And I think this year, more importantly than any year, it's your ability to go steal some road games, because I don't think anybody's going to run away with the league. I think your ability to win close games will be key. It is every year, but the way the league is unfolding right now, you got a bunch of 2-2 teams. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-2 teams. So I just have a sense that the league's not as strong overall. It's hard to identify who the pro players are right now. I don't think anybody's overloaded with talent as they were a year ago. We've had some guys hurt on some teams that are key for them, particularly Kentucky. So we'll see, but it's not as good overall. I think 8 or 9 will get in the NCAA tournament. I think there are 3 right now that we know won't make it. But these next 2 or 3 weeks, with a team like Auburn that's 1-3, these next 4 or 5 games for them will be critical, and they have to defend the home court, and they've got to be able to win a game on the road.
Yeah. We lost you there for a second. John, I'll come back to you. Matt Dean, you look at the league top to bottom, NIL, the portal. I mean, it's so prevalent. It's so obvious what's happening in football. What about basketball? How much can you – I mean, it doesn't take but a few players in basketball compared to football to really up your game. Yeah, we lost you for a second. But I was going to Matt about the portal and NIL. What kind of effect compared to football is it having on college basketball, specifically the SEC?
I think one example is at Vanderbilt University, the job they've done up there. I think they just got their first loss recently. I think they're 16-1 overall.
Yeah.
You look at across the board, their women's program's doing real well. We know what they've done in football. You're seeing the impact at certain institutions. I mean, Missouri's at the top of the league. Not that they can't be historically. They've always had, going back to the Norm Stewart days, just a tremendous basketball program. But right now, for me, I still like Arkansas's roster if I'm just looking at the league. I mean, I think the reality of the situation is, Coach is right. These next 4 to 6 games, you probably see a little separation. And you have to have the ability to get what I used to call splits on the road. If you had a weekend where you had 2 road games, man, a road win's like a gold bar, Coach. And, try to win your home games and get some splits on the road and get yourself in a good position for a seeding. Because if you can't win any road games, the best you're looking at is 500. And right now, I think if you get to 8 SEC wins, you got a chance with a good non-conference resume. But the reality is, if you go 7-11 in the league, you're probably not getting the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Coach, you referenced stealing a win on the road.
Right.
That is really hard to do, and the officials things just go crazy when you're the visiting team. Like, it's almost like a scripted at Kentucky. Kentucky could be down by 10 in the first half against a big-time underdog, and all of a sudden there's a steal and a slam dunk, and it's on cue a foul or 2 or a technical, and the crowd goes crazy. Very few teams win at Lexington, and there's a lot of reasons why.
Well, I'm one of those guys. I didn't win there in 11 tries, so I can't speak on winning at Kentucky. It's like last night. You don't think Kentucky stole that game? They're down
That's
18
right.
the first half, and they come down and we kind of botch it up a little bit. But we missed free throws at the end of the game to seal it, and they throw a howitzer pass, and we try to steal the ball as opposed to just making him shoot over us, and we miss it, and he turns around and makes a basket. So that's what I mean by stealing a game like that or 2 on the road, because I think with the league being more balanced, road games are always critical, but I think this year they're even more critical than they've been.
John Hartwell, of the teams you've seen play in the SEC, who really stands out? Like, this is a Final Four team.
Yeah, I think it's too early to say. I mean, like these guys were saying, there's some balance in there. But here's what I think is really important, because obviously we talk about NIL, we talk about the portal, depending on what's real. Kentucky has somewhere between $15 to $20 million invested in their basketball lineup. Cal's not far behind in Fayetteville. But at the end of the day, there's one ball. There's one ball for every possession. There's not 5 guys or 12 guys out there that can take a shot. And you've got to have some glue guys. And I know it's a little bit quirky, and I know there are people who say, oh, gosh, can this work in the SEC? You look at what Buckyball has done in College Station. He's got some glue guys, and you've got to have a handful of glue guys. Not everybody can score 20 points a game. And I think kind of how that plays out over the next 4 or 5 weeks as we get ready to come to the stretch run before conference tournaments is really going to distinguish, who's got a chance come March to really make a run.
John Hartwell, the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Big East, right now from what you've seen, what's conference is standing out as the best? I mean, the SEC last year was so far ahead of everybody, but it ain't even close this year. I don't think.
Yeah, Big Ten basketball is always going to be strong. The SEC is good. I tell you, though, the ACC, when you look at a couple of teams like Virginia, and I've watched them quite a bit, Ryan Odom has done a really nice job with that Virginia team. I think it's going to be a fun March, because I don't think there's just 1 or 2 dominant teams that said, hey, nobody can beat these guys. I think there's probably 15, 18, maybe even 20 teams who they can get hot in March, can make it to Indianapolis and win a national championship.
Yeah. John Brady, what out of LSU? I mean, it's been, you've been doing the color on the program for several years.
Right.
Year over year. It's hard getting over the hump, isn't it?
Well, that portal, sometimes it's like the path of least resistance. I don't know how deep they dig into these guys to see what they're about. You can tell if a guy can run fast, jump high, and make a basket or whatever, but what motivates him to play hard every single day and take coaching? What's in his heart? How tough? What's his competitive nature? I don't know if you can judge that in this short-term portal recruitment. That's why some teams go in the portal and miss, and they don't win a game in the SEC 2 years ago, and now they hit in the portal, and all of a sudden they're the most.
Yeah. Well, it's almost Matt. It's almost like arranged marriages. I mean, your brain. You don't know.
But
Yeah.
At LSU, I think our biggest problem is in Matt McMahon's. This is his 4th year. We've never had a first-team All-League player. We haven't had even a second-team All-League player. And if you're trying to beat and win in this league and win significantly and do something special, if you haven't recruited or signed or have a couple of all-league players out there, or even a pro or two, even if he's a late first round or a second round pick, I don't care how well you coach, you really don't have an opportunity to show improvement. And that's where the LSU team is from a talent standpoint. Then we get a point guard that makes a difference on our team, and he gets hurt, and he hadn't played the first 4 SEC games, and we hadn't won any of them. So I feel bad. It's just bad luck that's occurred. But it started because we haven't brought in good enough players to be able to compete in the top 5 or 6 in this league. Now, what a coach will throw back at you is, I don't have the money they have. Well, I don't know how to respond to that except just do better, evaluate better. They say Michigan State spends $3.5 million, Kentucky spends 20. I'd rather have Michigan State's team. So there is a way to do it, and you've got to manage the money that you're given. But certainly that's LSU's biggest problem. Our talent level is not where everybody else is in the league.
Yeah, Matt Dean, he just made a great point. If you don't know these guys, Kurt Cignetti said the same thing. Nick Saban said, I never signed a kid that I didn't go personally watch work out. God, bringing in a whole new roster. Like, look at the University of Memphis. I mean, no one even knows who these guys are. It's great for program sales, I'm sure.
Well, Coach is right. You have to hit on a couple players, and then you have to retain those players. So from a budgetary standpoint, in the world we live in college athletics these days, you're going to have to, unfortunately, work with agents and negotiate deals where you can retain your really good all-league players. A lot of times we look around the league, in our league, for example, and we look at who's got first team all conference type guards. Yeah. I really believe if you got a point guard that's a first team caliber player, as long as that person's healthy, you're going to have a chance to be competitive. But you better have a plan to keep them there, because someone else has got tape on your kid. They're watching your kid beat them, and they're going to want your kid. And these days, it's not basically, all this tampering. It's basically done through agents, guys, and friends of friends. Yeah. And they know if you're playing really well, if you don't do something to keep that kid by a raise or more money or whatever the collective says, you're going to lose that kid. And that's what's unfortunate. You look at player retention, and that's where I think Calipari has an advantage, because I really think he understands the roster construction model with NIL. And going back to Tom Izzo, Coach mentioned one of my favorite coaches of all time. I've had the pleasure of watching his team practice in our gym before they won a national championship. Yeah. And the reality of the situation is, Izzo not going to take you unless you're tough. You may be the most talented guy in the world, but Izzo loves toughness. He gets a lot of those kids up in the Midwest, in the Michigan area, the Detroit area, what they're going to call East Lansing. And his kids are going to go in there. They don't care what your roster budget is. They're going to go in there and not tough you. And that's an evaluation thing. You better be a damn good evaluator of your system that you're trying to run.
I love those comments. John Hartwell, as an athletic director for years, and now college sports solutions, you're looking for coaches. Same thing. It takes a while to get to know somebody. I mean, you can reminisce with people you met an hour ago. I mean, it's not much to talk about, but you can reminisce. That's what you're dealing with right now. SEC basketball. John Brady, we may have lost him. I think he's got some some phone issues, and we'll get him to work those out. But I'm just looking at the league right now. We're going to get into some football here momentarily. I'm looking at. I like what you just said about Tom Izzo. $3.5 million. Kentucky allegedly over $20 million. And where are the results? If you get a bunch of guys that are there with their hands out, that aren't committed to being on a good team, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it really doesn't. And, chemistry is important in every sport, but I would argue chemistry may be more important in basketball because of the limited number of guys or girls on the floor at one time. And, you're going back to the evaluation and the recruiting, especially in today's world of NIL, that's when you've got to rely on your inner circle of trust. And when I talk about that, I say, hey, people who are in the basketball world or football or whatever world you're recruiting a student athlete for, hey, anybody can look good when the lights are on and you're on the stage. What's this kid like in everyday life? Are they a good teammate? Are they a chemistry builder or a chemistry killer? And those types of things, again, it's speed dating. You don't have enough time to get to build a 2, 3, 4-year relationship like some coaches have been able to do previously when you're just recruiting primarily high school kids. But you've got to have an inner circle of trust, whether it's at the JUCO level, whether it's the high school level where maybe that kid played 2 or 3 years ago. But you got to have some truth tellers to tell you about the core and the character of those kids.
Well, and I'm just saying that 5 guys on the court, 13 total scholarships, Matt, is what you have. Men's, women's basketball.
Yeah.
In middle school, coaching girls is 10 times easier than coaching boys. I don't know. In college, I mean, I have 2 of each, 2 boys, 2 girls. Girls just mature faster than boys. We know that. So coaching women's basketball, when you watch the product on the court, it is a more pure form of basketball. It's not all about being above the rim and dunking and Sports Center highlights, if anybody even watches that anymore. It's completely different. And one more thing about basketball that I want to get into some football, and we'll get John Brady worked out to where we can get him back on next week. But guys, and Matt, you know this specifically, college basketball, it needs football to be successful. But, last year, again, you had 14 out of 16 SEC schools in there.
Yeah.
Big 10, Big 12. Who is the best conference? I asked that to John Brady, but who do you think is the best conference right now in college basketball for the men?
Well, John touched on, I do think the ACC is vastly improved. I even think, you look at it top to bottom, it's always been the basketball league. But I'm going to tell you a couple names that are going to shock you. Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg is 16-0. Michigan, Dusty May had a run where they beat like 5 consecutive opponents over 25 points, I think, guys. Purdue is still at the top of the Big Ten, and we talked about Tom Izzo. So right now, I hate to say this, but I think the Big Ten's got some teams that could lean into March and be problematic. Yeah. However, I do think one thing that's interesting about the SEC, and John mentioned it with Buckyball, I think there's some teams cutting their teeth a little bit in the SEC that come March can make a run. And I do believe there's 15 to 18 teams out there that could get hot and possibly make it to March. And several of those reside in the SEC. Last thing I want to say about basketball and NIL world. There's less patience with basketball coaches, and really probably, John, deservedly so, because unlike football, when you have to put together a roster of 85 to 100 young men that can go out and control the line of scrimmage and get a great quarterback, if you hit on 2 or 3 guys in back-to-back years, John, you got a chance to be pretty good. And that's not a high expectation as an athletic director. I'm expecting if I hire John Hartwell as my next basketball coach, through his resources, through his connections, he's going to find me some talent. Now, it's my job to raise the money to keep those guys. But you better find me some talent, at least in that year 1 or 2, that has promising returns down the road.
I agree with that. John, we're talking about the Big Ten. Look at football in the Big Ten right now. Dave Bartu sat on this show earlier this week, and I talked to Dave a lot off the show. The coaching in the Big Ten right now, football-wise, compared to the SEC, I mean, that league, barring Miami being David against Goliath, the way Indiana's played the last 2 games. But then again, Indiana squeaked by Ohio State in the Big Ten championship 13-10. When they played at Oregon, won 30-20 during the season. They haven't beaten everybody like that all year long. But is the SEC in danger of complacency has set in, and this last 20-year run in football, keep talking and going back to it over and over, well, that Big Ten's won one title, Michigan, then won 2 in a row with Ohio State. Well, when it's Indiana, very likely Monday night with 3 in a row, you think someone's going to pull the fire alarm in the SEC office and go, hey, we need to have a Mike Slive speech like in 2014 about you better get it together in basketball, and start saying that about football, because it can happen. You're muted. John, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I'm going to take a little different take on this. Some of the listeners out there may disagree with this, but here is a factor that I think you see very prevalent right now in the Big Ten that maybe not so much across the board in the SEC. And I'm going to go old school here. I'm going to say, when you look at a Kirk Cignetti, when you look at a Ryan Day, when you look at some of these guys, I would refer to those guys, and as you described them, they're disciplinarians. They're not going to put up with a whole lot of crap. It's going to be, hey, you're going to learn my system. You're going to play by my rules. And if you don't, that's great. But you need to go find another home.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about the glitz and glamour. It's about the roll up your sleeves, go to work, get things done. We're going to do this in an organized fashion. And I think, again, if you look across the board at the Big Ten, that league and its head coaches right now, especially in the sport of football, but you can throw Tom Izzo in that same group. It's different sport, different ball, but it's the same deal. And I think as we go through all of this chaos, kids crave that. Kids want to be coached hard. Kids want to have a disciplined system. And I'm not sure in the SEC, somewhere we've gotten away from some of that. And part of that is, yes, Saban's retirement and some other things. But I think that is a huge key to the success going on in the Big Ten right now.
I was listening yesterday when I was out walking Daphne at the park on the river to a great podcast, a couple of them, Unlocking the Potential in Your Brain. Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL, said, people, they quit. He goes, I understand people are going to quit things in life. He said, 85, 90% of the people that start out in SEAL training don't make it. They rang the bell 3 times. They come up with excuses. Well, I had a foot injury. I had a family problem, whatever. He goes, they're excuses. And the more you make excuses, the more comfortable you are with making excuses. I can't stand it. And somebody was giving me a hard time the other day about I missed a shot because my gun sling got caught in the door on the blind, and I pulled up. And I was like, that was a fact. He goes, Browne, you're making excuses. You know better than anybody. I was like, okay, but here's your problem. Why do people want to be a Navy SEAL? Why do they want to be an Army Ranger? Why do they want to be, Marine Recon? Because it's elite, and you don't even have to question someone's toughness. Someone says they're a Marine. Guy could be 95 years old on an iron lung in a nursing home. And you go in there and you say something about the Navy, he may get out of that iron lung and punch you. Their kids are starving more than ever. And Matt, you know this as a coach. When you put people through grueling, grinding workouts, they love you for it later, don't they? They will not respect you if you become their friend.
That's why I think Rob, and John knows this better because he knows him personally, I think Florida hit it well in the cycle with Sumrall. I just think his toughness, former linebacker, he's going to get in there and he's going to change the culture immediately. Yeah. I think Michigan State hit it with Pat Fitzgerald. Great hire. A leader of men. And then honestly, I think, you look at the Kiffin hire, not a better evaluator in the country. And you look at what he's done with portal success. Yeah. But I think John Sumrall, and I don't know him, but he's my type of guy. I would want my kid to play for him. And honestly, I think he's someone that's going to resonate to the fan base, and he's going to resonate to a difference in terms of, the last few years, with Billy there, I just think that's a 180-degree turn that really helps Florida's culture out because they're going to get back to toughness. That's just my observation.
Yeah. John Hartwell, does John Summerall like talking to the media? He seems like he's very comfortable in that role.
Yeah, he really is. But again, he's real. He's not one of these guys. It shows in his interviews. He's not calculated in what he says. What you see is what you get. And I think a totally different personality, but I think that's Pete Golding too. Pete, Pete, you may have to bleep a few of the things, but what you see is what you get. He's not listening to a question, going through it and say, hey, what am I supposed to say here? He's saying, hey, here's what's in my gut. Here's what's in my heart. And that, again, being real resonates to today's kids. They don't want something that's fake trying to lead them.
I agree with that. I want to get into this. What happened, Matt, and I'm sure Tyler and Oregon were like, wow, I mean, what the hell just happened? We had college football super fan Clark Humble. Y'all got to be on with this guy. I'm going to get him on a Thursday with us. Guy is like 61. He's been to every college football D1 venue in the country and a lot of the smaller D2 and D3 venues, which I love football on all levels like he does. He lives in Atlanta. He was on Friday. He was at the game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Oregon and Indiana. He sent me a picture. He was on the sidelines with Puddles the duck, the Oregon mascot. Puddles was crying, Puddles. How the hell did that happen? And a competitor like Dan Lanning, what's he do from here? Because he's in the same league with Curt Cignetti, and Curt looks like he wants to coach till he's about 95.
Well, Lanning is a competitor, so he's not afraid of competition.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Oregon got a big boost yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard. Dante Moore is coming back.
Okay.
So that's huge for that quarterback room. You can make an argument that they may have the best returning offense in the country. They're one of the youngest rosters in the CFP. Now, let's take a quick deep dive at that game because, yeah, it hurt. My son's on the staff, and it was a tough one. But you take away the pick six, first play of the game, Oregon marches down 11, 12 plays, ties the score at 7. A lot of times you got to give credit to the other quarterback. And Mendoza was dropping dimes in small windows, and their receivers were making great catches against guys that were rated very favorably in the secondary for Oregon. So all the credit to Indiana. I think when he goes to the NFL draft, I don't care what you say. I know Josh Hoover's a good addition for that football team. They're losing the most accurate thrower of the football in college football. So they'll be good. They got the money to be good. Mark Cuban's going to back them. But you're losing the number one pick in the draft pick, so they will be different, guys. That's just my opinion.
He's also a hell of a tennis player.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So that'll be good for, playing some tennis with people at the club and working some good business deals. I mean, the kid, his mother played tennis at Miami, and his father played football with Mario Cristobal.
He did. One of the most unique interview guys we've ever had, too. I mean, he's a great young man.
Yeah, really he is. Young man. He is. I mean, and just when we think, college sports are falling apart, and I'm so damn tired of all the negativity. I mean, you better find excuses to win. Things aren't going well. You're getting your ass handed to you. Talk to any young accountant. My nephew, Ben, he was about in his 4th year working for Deloitte doing IT audit. I said, Ben, when are you going to get your CPA? He goes, Uncle Rob, he goes, I'm working and traveling 80 to 100 hours a week. I said, well, there's 68 hours of it. Got to have some. But, then he went to law school. So, accounting and law. But, John, you know how tough it is. When you started out, and you started out as an accountant, they gave you a visor and a fan on your desk, but everybody in Memphis at one time worked for Ray and Ivy. It was the boiler room, and you worked, and they taught you how to do it. What I'm curious about, like what Matt just said, Fernando, as Chuck Oliver calls him, Mendoza. He goes to Cal for a couple of years. He started some games. And when he got in the right system with Curt Cignetti, look what happened. Now, let's say you're the AD and you were interviewing Curt Cignetti and you had 4 or 5 other candidates. Would you have known right then, this is the guy? Can you tell it?
Here's what I would say, and hats off to the folks at Indiana who brought him on. His record as a head coach, hard to argue with, but also you look at his body of work. He didn't become a head coach until he was in his 50s.
Right.
He probably took the path of greatest resistance as opposed to the path of least resistance, a little unconventional. And I'd even say this, if I don't know the details of his interview with Indiana, but I'm sure there were other candidates who, again, back to the glitz and glamour and who maybe the wow factor would have been more, or when you're an AD, people talk about, hey, who can you hire to win the press conference?
Yeah.
That is very short-sighted, but his hire is outstanding. Obviously it has played itself out, but he's not the youngest. He's not the flashiest, but he damn sure is the best right now, or he appeared, one win away from a perfect season in a CFP. And again, you've got to dig beyond the surface. What's in the guts of this individual who is going to make them a great leader of men, and he's got a plan too. And Kurt Signetti, at that time, he's not a big city guy. I don't know that he would be a UCLA or a USC head coach or in Vegas or someplace like that. He kind of fits the mold of Indiana, and you think about. I hate to go to a music reference here. You think about John Cougar Mellencamp and, kind of the blue collar mentality of the folks in Bloomington. And he is a perfect fit.
Well, I do like the music reference there. I mean, and I was talking about Grateful Dead song Ripple.
I was born in a small town.
Yeah. I was born in a small town. Oh man, what a great and we think about Hoosiers. You can't get it. Like Lauren Meadows said on the show last night or Tuesday night. I was on his show on this channel, Low Down with Lauren Meadows. Great show. He said, growing up in Hubert Heights, Ohio, 25 miles from the Indiana border. He goes, when you cross into Indiana, you can feel it. It's palpable. It's tangible. You can spread it on a sandwich, as they say down south. It's a basketball state. And now it's a football state. And they're not getting a lot of respect. Hoosier Nation is going to take over. They're doing it right now, South Florida, Matt Dean. Is it that cold in the Midwest and people go, man, we're getting the hell out of here. We're tired of being in the Quad Cities, Moline, Bettendorf, Rock Island, and Davenport. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting. We have one of our part-time men's assistant basketball coaches who's an IU grad. So he already booked a flight a couple weeks ago. He told me his problem is he's got connections on the hotel and the flight. He can't get in the building under $4K right now. I don't know if you guys are hearing these ticket prices. I heard they're unbelievable, Mr. Hartwell. And what's interesting is Miami is hosting this event. So we all thought this was going to be a home game for the Hurricanes. Yeah. I'm hearing 65-35 with Indiana, maybe more, which is crazy because my youngest son was in Atlanta last week. And it was like 90-10. But that's a drivable situation for our Midwest fellows. But I will tell you this. Think about the path Miami has taken to get to this game. They win in College Station. They hold the Aggies to 3 points. Yeah. They beat an Ohio State team that I think most of us probably thought had a great path to get to the championship game again. And then that Ole Miss game, guys, was one of the best college football games you'll ever see. And they found a way to win that game. They have the ability to run the football. They do have a veteran quarterback who's played well in the playoffs. I know Indiana is like a 7.5-point favorite, which is crazy to me. Miami is going to have that thing. Mario's got it on his board right now. No one thinks we can do this. Everybody's betting against this. And I'm going to tell you what, as a coach, there's not a better damn remedy. When you get a bunch of a group of guys in a room and say they don't think you can do it, prove them wrong, that's the best thing you can say as a football coach to your team.
Yeah, and I'll say that things aren't always what they seem, John Hartwell and Matt. Everybody watching. I like this comment. Kelly Leak, man, you know that picture that's on there on his little thing on the comments? That's that dude from the Bad News Bears.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
remember
Greatest movie
the great actor Walter Matthau? But was that his best one, or was his best one Grumpy Old Men? Remember Burgess Meredith? I ate a bacon sandwich for breakfast every morning, and a bacon sandwich for lunch, and bacon for dinner, and my beer and my whiskey, and I'm 95 years old. Hey, go for it. Go for it. All right, here he is. Crazy that super fan Clark Humble, who, by the way, born and raised, Matt, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
I heard that last week.
Iowa grad, by the way, that he got punched at a Florida State game. Well, maybe not so crazy. John Hartwell, he's 6'6", 300 pounds. He goes, I'm a brontosaurus, a very peaceful guy. John's 6'7". I was with him in Little Rock a couple of weeks, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago. You should see him on the karaoke floor. But I digress. How about that guy that was in there? John and I were like, oh.
That guy, yeah. The bar was low that day. Thank God neither you nor I was foolish enough to get up there. Hey, guys, I got to run, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention one thing here.
Yeah.
Again, something that's really, really good about college football, and this speaks to the individual and his family. Ty Simpson, I don't know if y'all saw what he had to say about, no, I'm not interested in $6.5 million from Tennessee or whoever else may offer that. Yeah, I want to be remembered. I walked across the capstone. I was a Alabama football player through and through. Yeah. Now, he's obviously got a bright future in the NFL, probably follow his dad's footsteps as a coach. But I promise you this, if he is ever looking for employment from a University of Alabama alum, he will be.
He got it.
He's got it. He has, with that statement in a very public way, endeared himself for life to the Alabama Crimson Tide alumni. And I applaud the young man for that.
I do too. And that we've been talking about this is we've said this for years on this show. We're all older, than he is. And we have kids. And we've been 19 before, or 21 or 22, and we've been whatever age we are now. But they've only been 21 or 22. And nobody's teaching them about financial literacy. Average NFL career is like 3.5 years. So when you're 25 or 26, you telling me all these guys that have gotten this NIL money, or the NFL, have saved enough? I've talked to a lot of NFL players. I'll tell you one we had on the show, Dan Williams talked about it. 7 years, first-round draft pick, Arizona Cardinals, played at Tennessee, East High School in Memphis. He goes, they give you a per diem. You don't have to pay for anything. He goes, I took every paycheck and put it in the bank. John, you, in your role, I know you got to go, College Sports Solutions, you are so valuable. I'm not saying you're a weapon, but you're a tool, because you can go to people and coaches and say, look, we'll help structure. Ty Simpson's exactly right. You walk away from a lot of the wealthiest people in any state that are supporting you and screw them over. What do you think's going to happen to you later in life?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't want to get on a soapbox talking about our society today, but it's the age of instant gratification. Yeah. Hey, what's going to make me feel good right now? Well, if it's something that lasts 6 or 9 months and you get, an extra $100,000 in NIL money, that is very short-sighted, because what are you going to do? How is this going to help you foundationally over the next 50, 60, 70 years, God willing? And that is the message that's got to get through to these young kids. And part of the problem here are these street agents, or these agents representing kids in NIL that don't have any kind of licensing requirements or anything like that, because they're getting $100,000 deal for John Doe, because 20,000 of that or more is going in their pocket, and they're not looking out for the kid's best interest. And that's something that's got to be corrected. Hey guys, I hate to run. Great being on with y'all. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. And have fun moving. And I know it's a lot of work to do. And that's a bingo, John Hartwell. He's right about this. Matt, looking here at the state of college athletics, as crazy as it is, we say this a lot, but somebody's got to be telling the kids, hey, that money, that's a transaction. And you've got to think about, somebody needs to talk to these people and say, dude, when you're 25 or 30, I don't know, you may not make it in the NFL, but all the kids that are getting to the NFL, they did get probably pretty substantial NIL money. When we see what, and the kids, they don't give a damn about their schools anymore. Most of them don't. They're just going for the money. They don't care. What they don't realize is they go to that other school and it doesn't work out there. They can't go back where it started. Once you leave home, I mean, can you really go home again? Not when you take money and walk out and crap on the people that were supporting you. And don't say, well, they're putting their, hey, let me tell you something. You're putting your life on the line when you drive to work every day. I don't want to hear the crap.
You know, one of the things, Rob, and I think Coach Lanning said this in his Orange Bowl presser that we could do to fix this, is changing the college football calendar.
Yeah.
Let's get it to where the championship game, wouldn't it be great if on New Year's Day you turned on a television set and we have a championship game? We're not worried about playing the championship game 3 weeks later. And we had the portal match the end of the football season, right? And then we had we may avoid some of these situations like Ole Miss and Oregon had, where you lost your head coach at Ole Miss, and Oregon had both their coordinators going to take different jobs and trying to coach their guys through the playoffs. It's just sticky. It's messy. Bottom line is we got to fix the calendar. And some of it is the NFL's got to give up some dates on their playoff weekend times to allow college to get their season done. Another big question is, at what point in time do we give up the money of the conference championship game and take that out of the equation and go right to the playoffs? If we can get the calendar right, we start the season earlier, we eliminate some of the college championship games, and we go right into 16. No buys, 1-16, 8-9, you got it. And then we start going, and we play it like the NFL does, and every week there's a game. At the end, you got your Super Bowl, and then you're done, and then we can start the portal. Until they fix that, Rob, a lot of these things are going to happen. And the agents are getting involved all the time with these kids, and they're basically targeting backups. Part of the problem the SEC has right now, if you look at the elite programs, a lot of those 4 and 5 stars that are backups and haven't had a chance to develop are getting poached by other people because they're getting offers under the table to leave. So you're losing your depth. And then also, when your money's involved now, you can have a program like Indiana that wants to commit money to it and gets the right head coach with Cignetti, who brings a bunch of guys from JMU that had no stars, and all of a sudden 3 years later, they're damn good football players. And that's what we're ignoring here, the fact of continuity and coaching matters.
I mean, that's what Dave Bartu talks about. Continuity or lack of continuity is critical. And when Ryan Day said, I'm going to call the plays for Ohio State because Heartline was, doing other things.
That hurt them?
It hurt them. It had to. It hurts big. It's like bringing in a different chef for cooking the meal when you've got your biggest business client coming and his favorite meal, someone else is cooking it and he burns it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. I mean, that's why offensive line plays so god awful now. It takes about 2 years to build an offensive line. And you got guys, as Cole Kubelik calls them, getting stolen reps. They run with the ones all through spring practice. And, well, now they can't because the portal's been moved to January 2nd to the 16th. But they come and go and just, I'm out of here, So I look at this. Gary Harris out today on special assignment. But John Hartwell and John Brady, and we'll get John worked out for next week. But you look at what's happening in college football. The SEC had better be careful of not becoming the ACC. Okay. Basketball was really big last year, historically great. And this year, not so. It's just not as good, not at this point. And then you start looking at football. ACC has been really good in the past, but now it's a mess. I mean, look, I don't think Florida State, I'm going to have Jeff Cameron on this show from Tallahassee. I've been listening to him. He's on Chuck Oliver's show a lot. And I heard him talking about Florida State. You just don't know. Mike Norvell, when he lost that locker room and 31 guys quit before they played Georgia, they have not been able to pull them back. They have not. And Mike Norvell isn't dumb. He didn't forget how to coach, but he lost. He has no culture. There's no identity at Florida State University. Mario Cristobal, he's a grinder. Look what he's done at Miami. The term Cristobaling, having all this talent, everything going for you. They said the same thing about Dabo Swinney at Clemson. They're Clemsoning. Then they played for the national championship 4 times in 5 years or 6 years. Now they're struggling. And for goodness sakes, you go hire Chad Morris to be your offensive coordinator. I mean, I wonder too about Kurt Roper. Same thing. Some of these guys, when they show up, it's like the Grim Reaper at your front door, Matt.
Rob, I still believe in my heart of hearts, from top to bottom, the SEC is still the best football conference. I think what has happened is you got some top-heavy leagues. In my opinion, the Big Ten is one of them.
Yeah.
Where you've had an incredible run these last few years. I think what's really alarming is it's 3 different teams. It's Michigan, it's Ohio State. But when it becomes Indiana, I think people are like, oh my gosh, how can this happen?
Yeah.
Coaching and the continuity side of things, you would think, how does that happen? Well, Kurt brought all those guys from his team that he had coached with him. And obviously they're pretty good, Rob. And then you have the money to sprinkle in. You go out and you find you a Mendoza. You evaluate Mendoza and say, he is perfect for my system. You convinced a young man to come to Bloomington, Indiana, and then he has a magical Heisman Trophy year. Go watch the end of the Indiana-Penn State game and the throw he made to Amari Cooper in the back of the end zone. There's not a better throw in college football this whole year. And you start watching his back shoulder throws from an NFL scout perspective, they've got the best gunslinger out there. He's not the over-athletic guy, but he's got great feet. He's able to position himself in the pocket. His footwork is really good. I listened to Cordelli and you guys on Monday. It's the best hour on this situation. And Pete will tell you, just his mechanics are so awesome. And another thing that's helped Indiana the last 2 years, these coordinators have been with Cignetti forever too, Rob.
Yeah.
And they're not getting head jobs. They're immersed in that building. I had a good friend tell me last night that knows their general manager that a lot of times those guys are out of the building at 6 o'clock at night. Go home and be with your families. Yeah. I think he's the most efficient coach in college football right now. We waste a lot of time in this profession. We sit around and watch tape after tape after tape. I just think Cignetti knows his own skin. He knows who he wants. He's a great evaluator, and he gets guys to fit. He doesn't need a 4 or 5 star. He just needs a guy that's going to play hard and work hard in his system, and he will make you better. That's coaching, Rob.
Yeah.
That's what we miss around here. That's coaching.
Exactly. Just because you're busy or busier doesn't mean you're getting a lot done.
No.
There's a lot of garbage yardage and swimming and running just to say you did it. You're just tearing your body up. If you got 3 hours allotted for practice and you get it done in an hour and 15 minutes, leave. Go. You don't need to stick around and just waste time. I come in from duck hunting. I go straight and exercise, do stretches, push ups, start doing stuff. I still go run or bike. I'm not going to lay around and do nothing all day. That's just you are so unproductive. The most worthless time is when you hit the snooze button. It's a dream killer. Get your ass out of bed. You cannot win a fight laying on your back. You'll win them all, or most of them, on your feet. And I think you just nailed it about Curt Cignetti. Efficiency.
Yes.
Hey, happy coaches with happy home lives are more productive in the office. So you're out of there at 6 o'clock at night. It's a lot better than being out of there at 10 or 11. That's why coaches will leave you. I mean, I'm all about hard work, but we've all been around long enough to realize it's about efficiency when you're in there more than anything. And I think the SEC, top to bottom, is the greatest conference in America. It shows all about it. But we don't live in an echo chamber either. You better be aware of who's coming after you. And You look at Indiana and Miami. You're right about Miami too. No one's giving them a chance right now, and it's in their backyard. And Mario Cristobal played on national championship teams in '87 and '89, and he played for it in '86 as a redshirt freshman when they lost to Penn State 14-10. Pete Kiftopoulos, the linebacker, made that interception late in the game. Vinny Testaverde, the battle in the desert, the Fiesta Bowl. But he played for it, 3 times in his 5 years there. This is always going to be, I think this game's going to be better than people think. I'm still picking Indiana, but I think it'll be a tighter game. 8.5-point line.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I can't pick against Indiana right now, but I can sure tell you it's going to be a really good close game. I think so. Now, it goes out the window if Miami turns the ball over, but they're built differently, man. There was a 4th and 2 in that game against Ole Miss. They just turned around and handed it to Fletcher and basically just right up the middle, and they just had a bunch of double teams and pounded those guys and got 4 or 5 yards. They are not afraid to turn around and hand the ball off and run the football.
Yeah, I like this. Samari's 11. Mendoza is a machine. He has more touchdowns than incompletions in the playoffs. 8 TDs and 5 incompletions. Good. Christopher Columbus High School in Miami. Same place Mario Cristobal graduated from, and lots of other notable, wonderful people. Matt, great stuff today. I'm going to wrap it up right now. Say something. Hey, if you got to get a car, a truck, an SUV, call Brad Bellamy at LandersFordMemphis.com. Located at Poplar and Houston Levee, where Collierville and Germantown come together. Huge inventory. They're always looking for ways to get you in the right vehicle that can fit your pay plan, okay? They've got them used inventory as well. Landers Ford, the best corporate partner you will find anywhere, open every day except Sunday. Service department will pick you up, provide round trip transportation. Hey, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company right down the street on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Open every day of the week, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. They've got over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Barber, Filson, STS, the Filson luggage, even have Barber luggage, have STS luggage, the duffel bags, the jack, the women's clothing it's awesome. I mean, what they've got for the ladies, the Barber, you wouldn't believe how many good-looking jackets they've got out there for the women. And the earrings, the polymer clay earrings that John J.M. Huffman's mother makes. They've got it all. Hewlett and Dunn, Memphis, HewlettandDunn.com. Hey, Lights Out Gummies, HempForPros.com. If you got aches and pains, trouble sleeping, energy gummies, chill gummies. They also got the pain roll-ons and the chills. They've got it all. HempForPros.com. It's a collaborative with the NFL alumni, Mike Singletary, Harry Carson, Dave Bartu. That's who we're talking about. Use the promo code Flash Friday for 25% off or Sidelines for 25% off, and they will ship them to you that day or the next morning, okay? And Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. Look, thanks, everybody, for watching. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Your executive producer, Martin, we're out of here.